Hello, friend. In the previous teaching, where I dealt with loneliness in marriage, I shared with you three reasons that causes loneliness in marriage. Today, I will share with you the fourth reason, and then I will deal with how then you are to deal with the problem of loneliness. So, the fourth reason that causes loneliness, or the fourth cause of loneliness, is partners being too over dependent on their spouses for feeling fulfilled. When people are getting married, most people assume that the only source of your fulfillment is going to be your spouse. So the one that is to fill the gap in your life so you don't feel lonely is going to be your spouse. Whereas that is to an extent true, it is often a false assumption. It is demanding too much from an individual that in actual fact, he or she will not be able to fulfill that. And when it fails, there is a sense of disillusionment, there's a sense of loneliness that sets in. Yes, you are to be dependent on your spouse to have a sense of companionship, affirmation, affection, love, concern, care, and all of that. That is very true. But the fact is that your spouse is not the only source for which you will feel a sense of fulfillment. So you do not need to over depend on your spouse or over expect from your spouse. What then are you left with? In actual fact, you are supposed to have a sense of fulfillment in your own personal self. Be fulfilled by your own self. That's a part of how God has created you, to have a sense of personal fulfillment and inward peace, to have a sense of self-contentment. And from that, you are able to support your spouse. But have a sense of self-fulfillment and learn yourself to draw satisfaction and fulfillment in your life. Don't always crave for validation from your spouse. Validation is necessary from your spouse, don't get me wrong. But you've got to have your own sense of self-worth and value, whether you are validated or not by anybody whatsoever, including your spouse. In so doing, you place yourself in a safe space where you will still feel a sense of fulfillment, even if your spouse still affirms you, or even if he or she does not. What then do you need to do? In the sense of overdependence, understand you have hands to work and to earn a living. Don't expect your spouse to give you everything that you need while you just stay at home or do other things. Remember, your spouse is also a human being, man or woman, will be passing through challenges and personal crises, and may sometimes even forget to affirm you. But when you are built and factored into your life, the fact that you can draw fulfillment in your own personal life, it keeps it in a safe space. So what your spouse does for you becomes an additional benefit into the treasury of your feeling of fulfillment or excitement or care or affirmation or love. Now I want to share with you how you can deal with your experience of loneliness in your marriage. Number one is for you to tell your partner the way you feel. We often assume that our partners will read our minds. They are mind readers. He should know what is wrong. He sees that I'm not smiling. He sees that I'm not interacting with him. He sees that when he talks about sex, I'm not responsive. I'm just passive. Yes, those are signals you've given to him. But that does not replace your verbal expression of exactly how you feel. You say that when she's asking for finances, you are giving her less than what you used to give. You're trying to convey to her that you're not happy. There's something that is not right. Well, the fact is that she may as well be thinking that maybe you have too many financial responsibilities that you may not have had time yet to discuss with her. And that is why you've reduced the amount of funds you release into her account. So the point here is, tell your spouse the way you're feeling. Tell your spouse, I'm feeling lonely. I feel you're distant from me. We're no longer close as we used to. I was expecting that in getting married, we'll be able to build a closeness, which was not there initially when we're coming into this relationship. But it's not working. Let your spouse know. It does not need to be expressed in the manner of a fight. It needs for you to first of all assume that your spouse may not even know what is going on. And therefore you choose your words, you choose your timing. Whether your spouse is your wife or your husband, ensure that you find time to express exactly the way you feel about your feeling of loneliness. Your intention is to convey the message. It's not just to raise a quarrel or a fight or a disagreement. So convey that and let your message be very, very clear. It should not be in the pattern of an accusation, accusing your spouse. You are this, you are that, and that. Or finding fault to criticize. That will swallow up the message and will not be helpful in the end. Number 2 is figure out what has changed. What is it that is creating the distance between you and your spouse? First of all, reflect on it on yourself. What am I doing as the husband that I'm creating a distance between me and my wife? Or what am I as a wife doing that is creating a distance between myself and my husband? At what point did that distance begin to occur? Try to pinpoint that event or that experience or the timing when that began to occur. The reason is that you'll be able to walk back in course of time to see where the problem came in. So you will be able to address the problem that is creating the distance and eventually the loneliness in the relationship. Number 3 is for you to learn each other's love language. What is the love language of my spouse? There are different expressions of love language. There is the expression of affection, affirmation, physical touch, quality time, acts of service, and in some instances, gifts. These are all love languages, and each spouse has a unique love language that speaks more deeply into him or her. So one of the ways to deal with loneliness or the gap that is created between yourself and your spouse is to locate the love language. Because most often when you speak the love language of your spouse will not feel lonely, will not feel distant. Whatever it is, it will be on his terms or her terms. You don't compel somebody to a particular kind of love language. It is natural in the individual. It's for you to figure it out. If you cannot figure it out by your discernment and observation, be courageous, lovingly to ask your spouse, what is it I do for you that makes you feel loved, cared for, and connected with? It could be affirmation. It could be physical touch. It could be spending quality time. It could be offering a service, helping to change the baby's nappies, helping to give assistance in one way or the other, trying to fix his breakfast, trying to assist him in getting his cufflinks placed on his shirt, or looking at his tie to fix it nicely for him, or finding a way of going to do shopping for her, relieving her of that stress of moving from one store to another or shopping every other weekend. But you say, I will take it up this time. So understand your spouse's love language, and it's very important. Another way of dealing with loneliness is to get support. You get support not just from your spouse only. You can get support from a friend, from those that are close to you, from your pastor, from your counselor. Get support. If you're trying various techniques and the crisis of your loneliness and the distance between you and your spouse is not close enough, then find support. Don't hold back. Don't think it will take care of itself. Find a way around that problem. And the next thing I want to share with you is knowing when to leave. When is it time for you to leave? What do I mean by to leave? I will share with you what that means. To leave, first of all, begins to come into the place of having discussed with my spouse, and my spouse does not seem to see a problem in what is going on. Then there's a possibility that there may not really be a problem in your union. It may be your personal experience. Maybe there's something calling you then into figuring out on ways and means of improving on your own self, spending more time on various things that will be more productive to your life. Building also circles of relationship beyond just your spouse. Building friendship in your inner self, with your own self, but also in the sense of having a sincere conversation with your own self and harmonizing yourself and living in harmony with yourself. That is one way of knowing when not just to be bothering your spouse if the problem is not there, but introspectively looking at your own self of what needs to be done. What also it means to leave has to do with coming to an understanding. All right, you've discussed with your spouse, he or she does not seem to accept the challenge. Don't go bickering, don't go nagging. Give some space. Reflect more on prayer. Reflect more on doing something more productive. Maybe you want to write a book. Maybe you want to pay attention more to the well-being of the household. Maybe you want to pay attention to improving on certain things you're doing to touch people's lives around you, or even in your community. These are ways you can deal with the challenge of loneliness. Find your passion. Begin to live out your passion. Begin to live out your dream if you've put it aside and you've been sucked into the pain of loneliness. Recover yourself. Make yourself more cheerful, more fulfilled. In so doing, you begin to release a new energy into the space. Spend time to pray, to meditate, to deal with the issue. Give the issue some space and live positively. No more crying, no more groaning, no more complaining, no more fighting. Just calm down, give positive energy to your relationship, and focus on what will build yourself and build your household in a more profound way. Friend, I'm happy that you found this time to be with me here and sharing with you the causes and remedies of loneliness in marriage. I believe that this teaching has been of help to you. As a marriage counselor, I will be excited to receive your email or receive a call from you. My number and my contact details are there on the screen. Perhaps you have a peculiar situation we may have to discuss one-on-one to deal with that particular situation as it relates to your loneliness in marriage. God bless you and enjoy the rest of it.